what to do in the meantime, and why it doesn't matter. The audiobook by Dr. Michael Richard Lucas. Narrated by me, Samantha. Arranged and produced by Michael Richard Lucas. Chapter 2. Official voting guide for the 2024 presidential election. Classic our character. Such an our character mood. Totally something our character would do. Discarded first pages, if ever they wrote. Our character. Always writing the first page. Everything was somewhere else at one point. Everything was sometime else at one point. The change you thought would happen in your lifetime will not. News reports didn't say explicitly, but we can assume as much. This type of thing happened often. Our character, now in the backseat of history, influencing. Again, no perfect ending. I will end. It will end. Nothing will change. So far as I'll be able to see. For others it will change. That can be motivation. Kicking the can further down the road. Kingdoms built on character flaws are quantitative processes, leaving the task of description to metaphor, ascribing character types to parts of the cell. Maybe the stones fall because they want to. I want to work backwards. Reverse engineer a theory from a metaphor. Live in a manner that creates a past helpful to your future. A categorical semi-imperative. Our character would remember this, and then forget it, and then remember it again, etc. Our character remembered a space-time. They had to keep a checkbook. Cursive was mandatory. There wasn't a college football playoff. People complained about wearing seat belts. And then, this space-time never existed. Will AI be like this? The challenge remains. Survive, procreate, etc. But it has always favored a certain type of person. Homo economicus is created and recreated ad absurdum. Undoubtedly, our character was one of these types, at least, outside the safety of their domicile. One of the books our character was reading, coincidentally was saying something similar, although not unheard of. Resistance was futile. What we see as successful is merely that which is doing a good job of meeting the challenge. But what if the challenge was different? What kind of people could we recreate ourselves to be? If you can learn it, you can learn it. Time, a measure of mental digestion. Our character was full and couldn't move. The horizon. You can go no further. Thinking yourself into non-understandings. Thinking the essential nothingness of existence. Understanding without understanding. The brain can do no more. Our character thanked their evil ways for protecting them from their more evil ways. That causes this, but what causes that? Etc. Please fill out this survey to let us know how we did. I got myself into this mess. I'm going to be the one to get myself further into this mess. The I that wanted identity. Our character wanted their story to be remembered. But why? Why this? This being I body? All day, every day, everything and everyone. Emphasizing the thisness of this body, the space-time. Why not be a squid? And so, our character went on caring, or not caring, in relation to what they can only assume is a world external enough to differentiate it from themselves. Our character thought, shit, I do all the bullshit I hate others for doing. You're the most motivated nihilist I've ever met. Nihilist party, yet to put forth a candidate. Absurdist not sure they are absurd enough. Everyone says something. You must become fully stock to become unstock. Our character realizes the importance of dad naps during holiday celebrations. Our character is less psyched. Each birthday, going senile retirement plan. That feeling you get. You pack something ahead of time. Forget you packed it. And then later, it shows up. Exactly where you put it. You were wrong. You can defy your own mental capacities. If life appears to be a game, it is. Games are life. Was this a fact about the planets? Or about me? What? No. We don't have time to buy presents. We have a parade to catch. Something from our character's past. Long-winded, but ultimately, somewhat rewarding. The author, our character's life, was in boxes. Once more, moving, was killing them. Turns out, sharks could survive stillness. Our character didn't have a job during this space-time. Not having a job also meant not having health care. This is when they needed health care the most. A lot of things were very stupid about our character's space-time. Pharmacies were closed on Sunday. Why? Nobody needs medication on Sunday. The spray paint was behind lock and key. So were the condoms. To be successful in this space-time, in any way, our character knew they needed to draw their audience's attention away from the fundamentally mistaken nature of logos. Our character would appeal, like many others, to consistency. Consistency is evidence of the fixity of truth. Logo-centrism limits the audience's ability to understand the rhetorical maneuvers of the logocentric dialectician. This is how profit tragedy was generated. With a universal truth, we can appear to agree with ourselves. No room for our audience to agree or disagree, erasing the conflict itself. If our character appealed to a consistency within their own process, they can appear to appeal to a consistency within the reader, and the space-time outside the reader, but no invention facilitated within the reader, only a reaffirmation of the consistency the reader is already looking for. This is what our character needed to do, to have a job, to have health care, etc. Our character would have to take advantage of their audience's need to construct and confirm their own self-consistency. Shouldn't be too hard. It was. The desire for consistency necessarily permeated their logos. This didn't lead to self-awareness nor appreciation. Method appears to offer us the ability to act with consistency towards truth. Maybe it does? Our character didn't know. But then again, our character wasn't thinking any of this on a conscious level. They may have stumbled upon it. It was statistically possible, probably, but not probable, possibly. If Orange Man was wrong about the plague, what else could he have been wrong about? Only those with no allegiance could tell the truth. Our character had no allegiances, but they also had no motivation. Our character thought to themselves, if you're going to date me, you've got to be cool about a lot of shit, and fast. Just because someone had a stupid idea once, doesn't mean we have to keep doing it. Our character knew without knowing. This desire to act in the world, the ultimate rhetorical position. Consistency demanded from the inner world they created. Consistency demanded from the outer world they created. We forget which side it originated. Our character did too. And therefore, we demand the consistency we have assumed is demanded from us, from others, perpetuating the cycle. Motives must be silenced to learn a dialectic and gain self-consistency within us that will respond to a self-consistency in others. Motive balancing, recycling the obsession, getting rid of mistakes instead of listening to them. Apparently, Sky Wizard just letting tragedy happen. At some point, there will be a good reason. There never was. Our character wanted to write a book that was universally unappealing. Mission accomplished. The ultimate aesthetic challenge. Conquering chaos. Monumental monuments. Appreciation. A valueless value. In neoliberalism. But, don't shirk off the responsibility of your art. Texas catching up with Florida. Our character asked, is it good? No. But it's better than country music right now. Our character bought two nations flag permanently set to half-mast. Again, extremely normal political party bases public policy on bad interpretations of old book about Sky Wizard. Extremely normal political party doesn't accept bailout money. Except, every time. Liberal media doesn't want you to know. Orange Man won gold in the 1993 Alaskan Olympics. Winter Games. Institutions claim their path to appreciation is the correct one, but an individual's appreciation is paradoxical and purposefully pointless. It is a pedagogy. Our character must learn for themselves. Our character knew this, in some vague way. For institutions, the method becomes the way, the rituals and traditions, all through the lens of attraction, keeping up with the Joneses, a competition with no winner, self-explanations provided by the perpetuators of the motives an economy needs, the never-ending pursuit of attraction. Our character was arriving at a similar conclusion, edited here. If we appreciate everything, we won't be motivated to compete, take financial risks, etc. Even institutions that appear to be in conflict find common ground in resisting appreciation. The only time our character gets a security warning is when they try to sign into their account. Everyone had to be a politician in our character's space-time. Limit the periphery. All there is all there is. Our character's success was directly proportional to their belief in the illusion. How else could others agree? However, this wouldn't help others become better listeners. Our character's illusion of the real didn't depend on the others' inability to hear the rhetorical nature of their grand narratives. Whether knowingly or not, our clarity marched towards seriousness, silencing the dissonance that could help us hear our own thinking, our character's thinking, etc. The rhetorical stylist, absurdist imitates the serious by appealing to the clarity we desire, demonstrating the absurdity within clarity. If nothing else, they've more than likely banished their nomads to clear a path for grand narratives, a favorite of dictators and tyrants, a long-standing tradition amongst the elite. Rhetoric causes impotence. Politicians put blinders on the people. They wrote, some people just have good hair. Get over it, Debbie. Popster is pissed at Popster for talking shit about Popster after Popster broke up with Popster in order to date Popster, and is making new music inspired by their love for Popster. In the Popster galaxy, in the dimension of Popster, you don't have to be a marginalized community to be fucked over by freest nation. But that's an easy place for most politicians to start. The moreness our characters sought, they never found. We might always fail to get past this point, past the past, as humans. Although we could get past this past, as beings, during our character's space-time, the most brilliant trick the rich have pulled, making us vet ourselves to death, our own characters, our own people, while they remain unqualified, but alone, at the top. Nietzsche, tragically and unwittingly, misinterpreted in Commercial, for home and auto insurance. Our character's favorite Nietzsche quote, fuck John Wayne. Second favorite, think outside the bun. The television had an important announcement. World War III sponsored by butter. Our characters simply didn't relate to the person you think they are. How do they know who you think they are? I told them yesterday. The T-Mobile Mountain Dew concert series is coming to NBC Netflix next Wednesday. Comment below. Band has a good sound, according to guy standing next to me at the concert. Hibernation sounds great this time of year. Homework is bullshit. People dancing in Commercial look like total fucking idiots. Real people, not actors, are really actors. Because people are people too. Freest market. Can't fire Nance. She's been here for so goddamn long. Hot girl not impressed. People being really productive in Commercial. Guest room smells a little pukey. Great movie ruined by human emotions. Nothing matters. Want to buy stuff though? Perchance? Our character was fading in and out of a documentary. History makes a lot more sense When you realize everyone was on just as many drugs as we are now. Popular person, still too cool for our character. Person trying to be popular by pointing out how other person is trying to be popular. Only 10 people dying tragically in easily preventable catastrophe seems hardly newsworthy at this point. Nothing ever happens at 4 p.m. Am I that much of a dick? Wonders guy who is. New style of cultural group dancing, where apparently anything goes. The only thing we agree on is that we have to compromise. Our character thought they were really turning the corner here. In fact, they were rapidly spiraling downward to their eternal demise. Our character was still waiting to be discovered. What if they were quietly becoming nation's next top model? The millers are milling about their mill while milling. If I were reincarnated, I'd probably come back as myself. No, you're the asshole. Candy is good for you to eat. Movie, really long trailer for sequel. But this might have been when our character was dreaming. What might have been when? What? Ha! But that's not as interesting as how Popster saw Popster at Popster, and they all Popstered it all over again. Our character disrupted our dependence on the fixity of language. If this was a good story, revealing that which is not easily communicated, that which is closest to us, our relationship to logos, concealed by familiarity, by habit, by method, by repetition, by Sky Wizard. Therefore, our language, our character's language, should paradoxically turn on itself to highlight limitations and possibilities. We don't communicate the things out there to our neighbors. However, saying what cannot be said, we can hear what cannot be heard. The concealedness of the unconcealed, and the unconcealedness of the concealed, attempting to keep our character's inability to control logos concealed, in order to conceal our own ultimate inability to do so in our character's space-time. That spring, the NCAA Ivy Bridge Doritos FedEx Conference will play for their 6th consecutive national championship. Recent survey of most effective interview negotiation questions compiled by Pew Research Center and Citizens United. How much do I have to pretend my research is directly related to important causes without having to address any of those important causes in my research? If you knew everything, you'd be rich. If you knew everything, you'd know it wasn't worth diddly poo. This is why best to be rich and know nothing. Our character realized they haven't heard anyone use the word hyper in a long time. I'm announced to be thrilled by our updates, the latest of which, these are versions. Sorry, let me start over. It's the versions that have been updated, not the. Hold on. Okay, let me show you some numbers. Here, on this diagram. Did we bring it? Our character hated public speaking. Popster has new clothing line, new study, finds perfectly normal to feel like total dog shit 100% of the time. Young dad jogs less, watches World War II documentaries more. Our character overheard this somewhere, but they couldn't place it. We need our illusions to align. Regret is growth. Growth is pain. The only motivation is public humiliation. Our character hated public humiliation, above all, not for the act itself, but for all the times their mind would play it back for them in the future. To the capitalists' credit, they founded something semi-constant to get any consistency within the universe. Difficult and rare. Markets provided a scheduled consistency. Patterns in crop growth. You can now make plans in the future. Now, you can now bet on them. Create ceremony. Monumental monuments of monumental meaning for everyone. Do you realize how difficult that is to do? Thus far, only nations and religions have accomplished this. and probably some books. United by stuff, our character felt satisfied, for the first time, in a long time. Cautio mystic, science fiction, a public pedagogy, for theoretical experimentation, helping to normalize, if possible, our character's future, at least, collectively preparing, but the task, overwhelming, an infinite number of possible futures, but worth it? Any narrative is a prediction, disguised by, and originating from, the past and present, the present, moving away, from the past. Walmart, prodigal son, returns, just in case it wasn't clear. Absurdist also thinks, being absurdist, is absurd. Let him cook. If all that exists, is eternal chaos and pain, what difference does it make? If our character is distracted from these truths, how can you translate this meaningless meaning into a view of space-time? It's fish sticks for breakfast if you haven't eaten your corn mash hash yet. TV audience groans. Potatoes the new carrot. Orange you glad to see me? Pastel bathrooms. With toilet warmers. To space-time travel. Our character branched off into different selves. As when daydreaming. Our character didn't know, they didn't know, nor did anyone else, that we know of. In our character's space-time, the only authentic gesture is a mistake, molded by mistakes, not our hero narratives. Are we the subconscious, to our world, of mistakes? A parasite living off our mistake self-host. It is the real self, we haul around, all day. Our conscious self thinks we are their subconscious. Are we even asking an interesting question? We don't yet know who we are. Does our character? The baseline. We are not all the things we think we are, necessarily. We are some of the things we don't think we are too. Pushing through, being released from the binary, bouncing between the extremes. During our character's space-time, taxes shouldn't have been sexy, but they were. They shouldn't have been Game of 5, but they were. They should have been boring and simple. The IRS and CPAs should be one entity. They calculate how much they owe you. You owe them. It's math. No paperwork. Your employer, bank, and this new tax institution should report to each other. It should be federally regulated. It should be one thing. State governments don't need to be involved. No arcane infinity of particularly regional tax rules. This new tax institution will create jobs to streamline the process further and aid in implementation, software innovation, help desks, etc. Like the post office. When the post office is properly funded, the same thing should be true about voting. Picking candidates should be boring. Make America boring again. I've got good news. I've got bad news. You are not as bad as you think you are. You are not as good as you think you are. I assume our character would be the same. Sky Wizard assumes we are the same, etc. Philosophy is ambiguity training. Our character almost thought this once. However, their friend was closer to understanding it. BuzzFeed's Top 10 Questions to Ask Your Future Employer, sponsored by the Tobacco Farmers of America. Do you pay employees in legal U.S. tender or spirit points? But where, when was our character? Without singular judgments, information, taxonomies, details, charts and graphs, data points, etc., all adding up, knowing their ability to improve. Our character's social capital. Viewing the others, their multiplicity, not claiming to know, but knowing more than knowledge. Even anti-establishment anti-disestablishmentarianism was part of the establishment, normalized in neoliberal competition. Stay away from Iceland. You don't want to catch pneumono ultramicroscopic silicovolcanoconiosis. Words like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious were examples of floxinosinahilipilification, a hierarchy of not having to listen. Socioeconomic groups. The highest not having to listen at all. The lowest having to listen all the time. They must hear everything. They are often the least capable of doing so, yet they faithfully report back to the highest rank. Our character did this impulsively, without knowing, although others, during this time, were smart enough not to betray their own people. Our character wasn't a bad person, but they were stupid. But so was everyone. Our character wanted to write a book that made most other books unnecessary to read. This was actually one of their better ideas. Currently they were too busy fighting battles to sleep. Oh well, the next life would be better. Name one person who doesn't like donuts. Name me one person. You can't, can you? The inefficiency of our character's space-time baffled future generations and past generations. Abolish all the red tape, laws historically established to disenfranchise. Sing off the top. Cowboys versus farmers. The nomads. Are we winning yet, son? Tune in tonight at 8. Too many characters for our character to keep track of. Ryan 3, Kelly Blonde, Kyle Barr, Guy might have job opening. Don't call 1 Steph Craigslist, Bree camera return. Jason from Denmark Hank. We can imagine these people, but we won't. Our character knew how to be disinterested, to interest people, crucial to their livelihood, often mistaken for confidence or competence. What does this person choose not to know that I don't? A gap in knowledge, a power dynamic, repulsion, necessary for attraction. Only the potentially uninteresting person will act. The disinterested person doesn't act. Therefore, two mutually attracted people are less likely to end up together. People of this space-time were more interested in confirming logocentric hierarchies than they were being happy or doing anything potentially interesting. How well are they competing? Playing catch-up, rationalizing after the fact, and now, viewing the future through the past. Take the averages. Our character was hoping their self-image was stable enough. It wasn't. Our author failed. DM for Creative Brand Solution Management. We can start calling it the 20s. At this point, historians won't differentiate. Our character tried to follow every religion and every form of scholarship. We made them fail for some reason. Maybe it was to teach us a lesson. Them a lesson? The one way was always one of many. Insanity Tour. Popster's new summer concert series. Our characters' paranoia and psychoses were not wrong, just wildly inaccurate, making assumptions about the consciousness above them, our reader, writer, etc. But they couldn't let it go, as long as it almost kept adding up. A mission, some big mystery. Maybe their mind was bored. The consciousness is below them and us was now awake. They were thinking, so we were reading. I'd like to use a metaphor here, but I don't know all the metaphors you know. Our character didn't either. Neither do you. Oh, you know English? Name every word, each day, morning, and morning. Not necessarily the fall of Rome, as much as the burning of the Library of Alexandria, and the death of Harambe, etc. Oh good. Another day. Fighting back the eons of stupidity. Single-handedly. And no thanks. Breaking news. HR department. Not for humans. And not resourceful. But demanding the singular self. Our character was split into several selves. But usually, they only listened to the main ones. To save space-time. To save space-time we won't either. Or we couldn't. What if our character could hear people's motives? Faster than speech. Speech dethroned. Listening. Lessening. Less the thing. Conquered in the sun. Epicurious in the shade. Notwithstanding wind resistance. S speed times d distance times t time divided by m motive equals r p rhetorical position. Irregardlessness. Better understandings. of everyone else's selves. Must exist? You can know when, but not where, etc. Must our character take the most paranoid position? We'll try to sprinkle it in, here and there. These else selves, elves on shelves, viewing all voices, even the worst, speaking to a person at their best, the listening speaker, as their best listener, talks to the other's best listener, of themselves. Speaking of listening, etc. The New York Times top questions to ask during an interview. Which very normal older generation employee is going to complain about me not getting to the office at 4 a.m. every morning? How much time do I have before they try to convince everyone I'm lazy? All young people are these days? 1 week? 1 hour. So there were aliens during our character's space-time. Apparently, it wasn't very big news. For some reason, there were enough genocides not happening around the world for it to hit the news cycle. Soft enough to not terrify the American consumer too much. Did I say that last part out loud? That's the part you don't say. Strike that from the record, Your Honor. Elongated musk, ox, axe, lingers in the air. Popster. Starting to really sound like popster. Postmodern basketball guru. Instead of trying to pass the ball to the other 4 players, these 4 players should provide a man-made rotating shield around the point guard in the middle. We will have to practice it every day. The unit will have to move both forward and side to side. As the unit moved, the 4 players will be sprinting in a circle, a zone of complete indiscriminance. For the body of the other, more electrons than players. At this point, a proactive, protective shield of human flesh. A circular human chainsaw. The point guard could probably shoot it from anywhere they wanted. At this point, there, the perfect joke. That's it for me. Until next time. See you at 8. Other things characters from this space-time said. Today, Orange Man really became president again. After accomplishing easiest achievement possible. Generation's trophy wives unite. Our character had this uncanny ability to attract potential mates, but only when the end of the world was nigh. Some impulsive genetic disposition to make offsprings, offerings of spring. Ever tried on springs? Might work this time. This impulse had a kick and wouldn't butt out. Ass up, etc. A V. No boomer, no scrubs. To the left, etc. News makes it seem as if people really care about Popster. To get people mad about people caring about Popster. Then, yes, there's more. The news could report on whether people were supporting or not supporting Popster. Our character was a hot mess, and also obsessed. You must see people at their worst to allow them to bring out their best amongst yourselves. Our character's seemingly random actions, motivations from another person you don't have access. Maybe they don't either. Access denied by the singular meaning. Only one interpretation, and it's wrong, but at least it's something. Limited to communicate on one level. However, reaching the higher levels of communication, our character could evolve through themselves. They will move light years. Their skill to listen to all the voices, to come to terms with our destructive persons, those that work against us, without our knowing without knowing. Make it the slogan, not the saga. Profoundly stuck in the moment. You have to be a prisoner to be free, to understand what you're a prisoner of. The glorious incoherence of youth. Somewhere there is an understanding of everything. Hallmark movie, really hamming it up. All ham at this point. During our character's space-time, there were only 3 movies. Nostalgic superhero, nostalgic remake, nostalgic biopic. Is Purple 3? So many new ways, unlimited number of platforms to search for a movie you can't watch. Person from very normal older generation. Mad at apparently fucking everything at this point. Yet nothing important. Yet our character was now well rested and ready to be fully depressed. Dog disappointed. Our character couldn't smell thing. Dog generally disappointed in our character's sensory abilities. LGBTQ plus Confederate flag. HGTV divorce court. Internet televangelist. Doesn't understand their own double entendres. Always let Sky Wizard come inside you. The winning agenda. Our character knew their opinions were controversial, but they were brave enough to hide them from everyone, including themselves. Our character believed we should limit the number of deaths caused by viruses, and we should help the poor, and not be fascists. So brave. This, a systemic failure. Our character was reading another article. Top 200 questions to ask at the end of a job interview, sponsored by the Ham Council. Given what you know about me so far, should I continue to waste my time with this lengthy, traumatic process? Oh no, I'm just regular normal. Thanks. Who are the people telling women to go hiking? Popster goes to war. Is there anything she can't do? Popster heard of boyfriends in the Middle East. Locked and loaded. War times. Probably not great name for video game. Right now, in war times. Hard to market, one would think. But Christmas is coming up. War can wait. It'll be there after Christmas. Our character could get better at communicating with their denied selves. Learn to compromise with them, their gut feeling, another them, trapped inside them, in their stomach, of all places. See through that merging of consciousness, what we will want in the future, assumptions of our future, narrative expectations, or subconscious, unconscious, mainly focused on food. If our character could communicate to their stomach self, eliminating the dissonance, your otherness, your own other otherness, the otherness within you, it makes you whole. To generate the push and pull, carrying us to another realm of consciousness. And after that, etc. Can we arrive, while alive, in opposition to the neoliberal pursuits of representation, in religion, law, politics, etc. Empty traditions, empty methods, territorial disputes, conquering and converting natives, heavy breathing, student majoring in English literature, writing paper on identity politics, and social justice. North Pole, ain't nothing but ice, and broken dreams. Great Wall of China never failed. Perfect immigration policy. For our character's space-time. Christmas. Another great time to be rich. Existential crisis. Underwhelming. Our character was reading another article. The top 69. Nice questions to ask at the end of a job interview. Volume 2 11 inches Spinal Tap. Who in upper management looks like an atheist, talks like an atheist, but is really an evangelical follower of winemaker, and going to judge me, like Old Testament Sky Wizard, who in upper management is going to walk into my office, unannounced, and start insulting the books on my bookshelf, the art on my walls. What changes would your department need to make for it to be a fully functioning group of adults? Who could you fire today to make this department semi-functional? If a client shows up at my office, unannounced, without setting up a meeting, and I'm not there, are you going to call me in the middle of a sale to tell me about how I should be in my office when I shouldn't be? Are you going to tell my client how bad I am? The sublime future orientation. Darkness, its own certainty. The beautiful soul affirms everything. Amor fati, in love with your life. Art critic swallowed by thesaurus. Bad doctor of medicine has saved fewer lives than decent doctor of history. Person solving international mystery must not need day job. Data can only generate the past, but hey, it's something. Fireworks, adult, XXX, videos, fruit stand, God saves. From the other things? Must be in Florida. Next exit. Tonight at 8. In our character's space-time, the scientists attempted to measure how people act. However, based that prediction on what somebody else said about that prediction. Our character recognized a pattern, barely, or it was there. Paranoia. Others during our character's space-time were better able to articulate this. Not that they did. It's good at what it does, but it doesn't do much. Simply, more problems, not the moreness our character was looking for. Classical music starts playing, making the problem universal and semi-predictable, was not the same as solving it. Our character got distracted here. If only they could have stayed on the rails with this train of thought, to break free from our addiction to language. Our character was trying to get away from this panic attack by themselves. It was a road impossible to go down. Only someone on the very edge remembers memories they never had to understand perfectly. You don't understand when the binary mind in our minds fails, allows us to think one step ahead or one step behind. Which is more important? Fuzzy connections. The 5-paragraph essay takes the shape of a synapse firing in your brain, the visualization of all thought and structure, the warm glow of light off the dark wood. Both sides do not have good ideas. One side has decent ideas and poor execution. The other side is in the Middle Ages. During our character's space-time, parents had to pay children not to swallow their teeth. We will not tolerate obscurity, except everywhere, at all times. Apparently, a world currency. How to capitalize on obscurity. A history of history. Through the tolerance of another's logos, one might understand themselves and others. If our character didn't have any problems, they would create them. Luckily, our character didn't have to create many problems. During this space-time period, the problems were bountiful and perpetually unsolvable, just the way we like it. However, other characters, as far as we know, during this space-time, were better at generating problems that need not be problems. Everyone has to be good at something. While problems were plentiful, few were very interesting, if any. A sudden commotion. Attention back to the text. Our character had tried to read this book several times now, but couldn't get past the first chapter. Understand the feeling. It was prestigious. So they continued. Who is the master of one's words' worlds? Was our character. Who is speaking when something is spoken? Who is writing when something is written, etc. Write that down. In a way, this is obvious. We do not create the language we use. The logos has developed over space-time, through others, and others, and others of our others, etc. Several pages later. Most effective questions to ask at your Amazon Huawei interview interrogation. How long do I have to pretend your company is prestigious to avoid offending the out of touch very normal older generation who haven't experienced the outside world since the Reagan administration? Listening. Essential to speaking. A lack of tolerance for obscurity leads people like our character to exclude the other in their work, and therefore, the listener, and the listener's happiness. Hopefully, our character would not exclude us in their reading. For some, our love language is venting. Best come to terms with this. By all means, still love, vent, complain, critique, etc. Just make sure your audience knows the who you are being, and they are comfortable. Make sure you've introduced this character beforehand. Though, again, this is why you should never meet new people, but all people are always new people. Every space-time, our character was always close to this realization. They would probably be able to think this thought again in about 5 years, if the settings were similar. enough, or perfect, or the opposite? Nation bases economy on promise. Anyone can get rich. Fitting as it is. Fitting in is all there is. Everything is good. Everything is settled. There is music playing somewhere. No matter what. Someone will disagree with you. Our character found that oddly comforting. Instead of demanding their logocentric listener follow one true narrative, you can also wake up too early to contact your doctor. Again, it wasn't unprofessionalism, it was fascism that destroyed our characters. Space-time. Cops are people. People who are able to get so mad at somebody stealing something that isn't theirs, that they go through days of training so they can stop everyone from stealing ever again. They need no context to make bad guys. Bad guys. Everyone who is stealing from them, personally, except rich people. Can you imagine the kind of person it would take to make this logical leap? Every day they wake up. Is it any wonder they are wrong? More than not. Cops are people. People who are able to get so mad at someone driving fast, etc. Cops are people who want to get other people in trouble. Can you imagine the kind of person it would take? Is it any wonder they are wrong? More than not, if they put on a uniform. The government that you hate says cops have power to be sky wizard all day. The same people who can't fix your bridges and roads. The same people who can't provide you health care, in some cities clean drinking water. Again, it's a wonder anything was accomplished during our character's space-time. If our character could articulate this, they'd probably be able to write a fairly interesting book. If our character could ask their audience to consider more than one reality, but not an infinity of them, invite the listener to look at words, not just through them, but also, not just at them, etc., calling attention to their tricks. The order our character's audience will see is the one they impose on themselves, as much as the book itself. In a way, I guess, I did keep myself alive, in one narrative form or another. Our character visited their friend. If my dogs had to name me, they'd call me dog who can't bark. Subtle laughter. If my dogs had to name me, they'd call me animal who poops in one place. Laughter builds. If my dogs had to name me, they'd call me one who walks around the house erratically. Top questions every successful professional should ask. Spring edition. Is most of the workload office politics and/or unforeseen vision quests to other galaxies? Our character's current retirement plan, waiting for the FBI to tell them they were the only one qualified to save the world. Turns out, they've had superpowers this whole time. Electoral college still exists. Back in my day we didn't even have days and we ate dirt. Will my performance reviews be based on my performance or on my astrological sign? What obfuscating and antiquated software system will I get minimal training on that this entire operation will be run through every day? What form of medieval torture would you compare your work environment to? What random, pointless method will be used to measure my performance, and how has everyone else already found their way around it? Who has slept with who in this department? How many marriages has this department ruined? What % of marriages are sham marriages within this department so they could get hired as a couple? How much do I need to pretend I'm married to get this job? This call may be monitored or recorded to ensure quality service is not provided. A story of maxims, but aren't they all built to pass? No lessons, just learning. You like challenges, right? No, I do not. You'll see it as an opportunity to apply all those clever psychology terms you learned in college. Our character was currently a living psychiatric experiment. Please send an email ASAP. Think about the fun. Prosperity. Always a day away. Various institutions supposedly allowed our character economic ascent, but forever. prevented them from literal prosperity that would affect change, that would be helpful, etc. What administrator colleague pretends to be the nicest but is really the meanest? And what administrator colleague pretends to be the meanest but is really the nicest? Don't let your job get in the way of you making money every day. Now Memorial Day. Tragedy encouraged. Tragedy enforced. Mandatory tragedy.